Hello everyone and welcome to BrickCats. My channel is for anyone who enjoys custom LEGO creations, likes saving money, and or those looking to get into custom building. If you're a fan of my channel or are interested in supporting what I do, please consider liking this review, subscribing, or leaving a comment. Each like, subscription, and comment helps others find my channel and I greatly appreciate your support. Today I am reviewing version 2 of designer Bousker's Republic Gunship, distributed by BrickVault and released in November 2024. If you're interested in building this or any other BrickVault model, you can take 15% off the cost of your order by using my discount code, CATS15. I do receive a small amount of compensation when you use my code, and this is an amazing way to support the channel while taking a bite out of the price of the instructions. Without any substitutions in early January 2025, I was getting 5 stores and $264 without shipping and tax, or about $312 with shipping and tax. In my reviews, I offer my opinions on aesthetics and model features, parts issues you might want to look out for, the build experience, the model's integrity, and I close out with my overall impression and pricing information in the conclusion. If you're watching this review, I assume you bought the instructions or are interested in buying them. I also assume a basic level of familiarity with Bricklink's ordering system and LEGO nomenclature. I only use genuine LEGO bricks and I always purchase the instructions. For this model, Bousker was kind enough to share an advanced copy of the parts list and an early draft of the instructions with BrickVault's permission. I paid full price for the instructions directly and provided some feedback that made it into the final version of the instructions. Finally, I create these reviews for my own personal enjoyment and in the hopes that my advice will make your experience more enjoyable and or less expensive. Bousker's revised LAAT comes in 3 color schemes: the standard Republic color scheme you see here, a blue and white Plo's Bros model, and a Bad Batch inspired Imperial color scheme in white and gray. The model measures approximately 14 inches long, 17.5 inches wide, 6 3/4 inches off the stand, and 9 1/4 inches on the stand. Looking at the overall package here for a little bit, this is another gunship that in my opinion does a great job balancing studded and studless surfaces. This is certainly a preference, but I personally like to see some studs on my models, although I can certainly appreciate the smooth look as well. Right up front, the nose is constructed with some nice side building and lime green color highlights outlining the cannons. There's a bit of the cockpit bar showing and an ingot piece represents the clamp for the escape pod. Like the original version of the gunship, the front of the fuselage is built in 2 flat sections that gradually flare a bit wider as you move towards the rear. This is very nicely done, and this front section in particular is great for putting on stickers. They're the exact same dimensions as the version 1, so any stickers you have on version 1 will fit on version 2. Since this is a Clone Wars variant, there are 2 hardpoints to attach optional floodlights for the Plo's Bros model. The pilot seat has plenty of room for a figure and is reasonably easy to get in and out. The gunner's cockpit also has room for a figure, but you're going to want to put the gunner in there during construction as it's a little dicey to remove the canopy assembly afterwards. The fuselage gradually widens from 4 studs at the front to 6 at the top. The gap between these 2 curved subassemblies on either side was covered in a very neat way with road sign elements. The sides of the fuselage use wedges to set the angle, and the Republic insignia is a sticker on a 2x3 tile. I'll always love the inset printed tile in version 1, but I definitely approve of this simple and highly functional solution here. The doors open up fairly easily, and Bousker uses a small gap on the underside of the arch bricks to get this nice clean look. The door split is nicely shaped, and while I do find these a bit stiff, you can change out the black Technic pins for the gray ones without friction ridges to make the back door swing a little easier. The front door, just due to the connection, it's a bar connection instead of a pin, is a little stiffer, but no matter what, it's not unmanageable. The troop bay is nice and open with nozzle pieces representing the handholds. There's lots of studs you can use for mounting figures as well. And moving to the rear, there is a functional ramp with just the right amount of friction to hold it in place, but still make it very easy to open and close. The rear turret is limited in motion to basically up and down, but I don't think this matters too much as I think most people leave this in place and don't manipulate it as much. And the rear vents use minifigure skis to represent the cooling fins. The missile magazine does have a limited play feature where the 2 racks spin independently of each other, so that's pretty nice. The launchers themselves look great, and here's yet another creative way to get the elongated cone shape in front of the launchers. Partially connected tiles with the gaps filled in with bars looks pretty good to me. Here I am super excited to show you and demo the handle. Those of us that had the official Playscale gunships fondly remember the built-in handle, but mocks tend not to have it due to being difficult to integrate without compromising the internal structure or being intended for display anyways. This handle is awesome, in that it's the center of gravity here and it blends really well. In fact, having it stick out just a little bit is pretty important for actually using it, as there's just enough room to get a hold on it and lift it up. I can't get my fingers all the way underneath, but I guess it's not perfect. But this feels secure enough where you could swing this around and not worry about it. So yeah, this is like amazing. It's very solid. You can kind of swing it from side to side. You can rotate it from side to side. I wouldn't do that too much just because LEGO tends not to do well with flexing. But as far as moving this around, you can do that. You can swish it. This handle is really awesome. And when you're done with it, it just folds back down. You can rotate the Technic pieces here so those gaps don't show up, and it's very difficult to see, very well integrated. The wings have great color blocking and look very good in general. I wish this little section here matched up with the surface of the wing just a little bit better, and it's a shame that this spear piece at the rear here doesn't come in white yet. The standard ball turrets are at either end of the wing, and there is a missile loadout underneath. The stand is a separate parts list and instruction set, and it holds the model very nicely at a slight angle tilting forward. In addition to looking great, I really appreciate that this stand doesn't take up a huge footprint on my shelf, and this is definitely an improvement over version 1 of the stand due to these little pieces sticking up inside 2 holes in the model and having some hollow studs to give it just a little bit more solid connection. To close out the overview, this is an amazing looking gunship and the only one I'm aware of that has a functional handle that has also been physically tested. It has great proportions comparable to the other minifigure scale gunships I've reviewed, it has lots of cool details, it has great play features that are perfectly integrated, and it's just very well executed in general in pretty much every way. Version 2 of Bousker's Gunship and the display stand require 447 elements and 2,784 pieces. This is a very economical model for this level of detail and piece count, and there aren't any element substitutions I recommend to the vanilla parts list aside from some hidden pieces that can be slightly more expensive in the specified color. I do have a couple of notes on some specific elements. The 2 Technic Gear timing wheel 8 tooth part 32060 specified in light bluish gray. This is quite expensive in this color. Unfortunately, the available inventory of this element has decreased dramatically over the past couple of years as a number of mock designers have used it in very popular models. Brickvault's Mandalorian M1 and the Slave one come to mind. It's a unique element, and unfortunately this is one that I don't have a substitute for, as it serves a functional purpose by holding the missiles in place in the rotating magazine. The Slope 10 6x1 part 4569 in white tends to be a little expensive on Bricklink. There's not a good substitute for this one either, but these are much less expensive on Pick-a-Brick if and when they become available as standard elements. If you're splitting orders between Pick-a-Brick and Bricklink, there are a number of elements that will likely be cheaper on Pick-a-Brick. Pick-a-Brick orders over $35 total qualify for free shipping, and if you spend more than $14 in the bestseller and standard categories, all the handling fees are waived. As I'm recording this review in late January 2025, Pick-a-Brick standard orders are temporarily paused and only bestseller elements are available in the US. This should be temporary until they get rid of standard elements altogether in the US, which is likely only a matter of time, as they've already done this in other regions. Anyways, if you're not going full Pick-a-Brick, consider buying the following elements directly from LEGO. Note this is only going to get you up to about $16, and you need to get $35 for free shipping. I recommend getting the following common elements as well from Pick-a-Brick to get the free shipping, plus eliminate the possibility of getting used elements that might be a little bit off-white, or sun damage, or something like that. As usual, I use the Brick Hunter extension to check the entire parts list against the Pick-a-Brick inventory. I do have an affiliate link that gives me a small percentage of the value of your purchase, so thank you in advance if you choose to use it. And finally, if you're drawing from a large pool of spare pieces, lots of the Technic innards are hidden and therefore can be any color. This is especially nice for some of the randomly expensive elements. Instructions for Bousker's LAAT consist of 873 steps, with each part or subassembly added in each step outlined in red on a white background. This is great for visibility, and I didn't have any trouble telling where things needed to go. Like I mentioned in the introduction, Bousker was kind enough to share an early draft of the instructions with me, and I provided some feedback on things I thought could be improved as I went through the build. This is not a simple model, but the original version of the instructions was fine. Bousker adopted nearly all of my suggestions, and those that they did not were mostly because it would have been a major effort in the studio to change things around. So that said, I'm happy to report that there aren't any major problems with the instructions in their current form. There are a number of steps with an inconvenient number of floating pieces, like steps 12 and 17. Step 24 has you putting 4 unsecured quarter circle tiles in place before placing a 2x2 round plate. This is apparently difficult to change in the studio. And then for steps 481, 482, 484, 823, and 859, you could substitute in 1x5 weight plates as well. While it's not simple, this model is full of really interesting techniques. It's fun to see how designers approach the wing and the missile launcher area, and Boosker's design is different from the other gunships I've built, but retains some similarities from version 1. You're generally adding 3 or 4 elements in each step, so pacing is good, but you're still looking at a significant time commitment to build this one. This definitely took me upwards of 12 solid hours, and probably longer, and this is with pre-sorting into the major piece categories. Overall, this is a very sturdy model, and it's a huge improvement over version 1 in this regard. That handle does wonders for moving the model around, but you can safely pick it up from underneath, from the stand, or without the stand. There are a few spots I avoid touching, mostly because it's significantly more difficult to put together. For example, the connection on this back section here is a little tenuous on my model, so I kind of take care not to bump this if I'm picking it up with 2 hands. The front cockpit in particular comes off fairly easily, like so, but this is not a huge deal as it's very easy to put back on. The forward doors are swinging on a bar and hollow stud connection, so there is a lot of friction on that one. And I've had the connection point to the door itself come loose a couple of times. Again, fairly simple to put back together. This is a slope piece, and it goes over the hollow stud of that 1x5 Technic plate. The back door is on Technic pins, and I think if I were building this again, I would switch out some of the standard black pins with friction ridges for gray ones without friction ridges, at least on one of them to make it a little bit easier to swing. The angle on the door can get jiggled around as well, but those are pretty easy to put back in place. Lifting the model up by putting your hand inside the troop bay is not something I recommend because you can pop off the handholds in there, but really I'm not sure why you'd want to do this anyway because the handle is so great and so convenient. The wings on this model are very sturdy as well. There's basically no creaking or anything under unreasonable tension, and even the wingtip ball turrets stay in place fairly well. I highly recommend the display stand. It not only looks nice, but this is also an improvement over version 1 in that it very securely holds the model. Version 1 was just studs, and it also connected in an area of the model that was prone to collapsing if things got too much out of alignment. So I was really happy to see this revised to include some those Technic pieces sticking up into holes in the floor of the gunship. So this model gets top marks for stability, and it's even more impressive to me that this model doesn't need a central support column in the troop bay. In version 1, all of the ball connections in the back were under a lot of tension, and every time I pick up the model I can hear things flexing. Not so with this one at all. So very well done here by the designer making this incredibly solid. You cannot, even if there was a handle on version 1, you couldn't do this without fear of everything just kind of exploding. Boosker's LAAT version 2 is a brilliant model that excels in all the major categories. It's visually and functionally accurate, the build experience is very fun and very impressive, and the end result is stable such that you can actually play with it if you really want to. In my opinion, this is definitely the best Clone Wars version available for most people looking to build a custom gunship. Cost-wise, this model is fairly efficient as well. Again, without any substitutions, in late January 2025, I was getting 5 stores and $264 without shipping and tax, or about $312 with shipping and tax. With my minimal color substitutions, I got just a little bit of improvement, 5 stores and $261 without shipping and tax, or about $309 with shipping and tax. Buying the 13 elements from Pick-a-Brick and the rest from Bricklink, my Pick-a-Brick total was $45, which included tax and no shipping and handling. The Bricklink total was 4 stores and $237 without shipping and tax, or about $278 with shipping and tax, for a total of $322. And then buying as much as I could from Pick-a-Brick. My Pick-a-Brick total was $241, again including tax with no shipping and handling. The Bricklink total was 3 stores and $114 without shipping and tax, or about $140 with shipping and tax. And the total was about $381. Now keep in mind, Pick-a-Brick Standard is not available in the US as I record this review. I have a feeling going maximum Pick-a-Brick would still be more expensive than just Bricklink, but not by almost $70. Your mileage may vary of course, but getting the majority of your pieces from Bricklink, if you're okay with possibly getting some pieces not in great condition, is likely the most economical way to build this one. Instructions for this model cost $32.99 from BrickVault's web store. There will be a link to where you can buy those in the description below, and remember you can use the discount code CATS15 for 15% off if you haven't already used it. BrickVault runs sales fairly frequently, so keep an eye out for one of those if you're on the fence. My code does work even on sale items. Thanks as always for watching my review of bousker's Clone Wars Republic Gunship. If you built the model, you have something to share that I left out, or have a question about something I didn't cover, please leave your thoughts below in the comments. I'm very conscious that subscribers are earned and not deserved, so if you enjoy my content and want to see more, consider subscribing, leave the video a like or a comment, or follow me on Instagram if you haven't already. Thank you, and I hope to see you back next time.